For 10 years, I played the role perfectly. The devoted wife, the supportive partner, the woman who smiled through everything. When people met us, they always said the same thing. You two are the ideal couple, and I made sure they believed it, because perception was his kingdom, and I was his queen, trapped behind the glass walls he'd built. My name is Lila Barrett, and for a decade, my husband, Damian, made sure I knew exactly how small he thought I was. It didn't start that way, of course. They never do. When I met Damian, he was charming in that magnetic, self-assured way that draws people in. He ran a growing logistics company and always had this air of control, the kind that makes you feel safe at first until you realize it's not safety, it's surveillance. We got married fast, too fast. Within a year, I'd left my marketing job to help support his dreams. He said he needed me at home to keep things running smoothly. I told myself it was temporary, that once the business stabilized, I'd go back to work. That never happened. Instead, he convinced me to put my name on everything, the house, the accounts, even the company's minor assets, to make it look like a shared life. But what I didn't realize was that this was strategic. He wanted my name attached to responsibility, not ownership. It wasn't long before the comments started. You really think you can handle finances, Lila? That's cute. You're lucky I'm the one who earns, otherwise you'd be lost. Try to keep up, sweetheart. The first time he insulted me in front of others, it felt like a punch to the chest. It was at a dinner party. He made a joke about how I once messed up the tax paperwork, and everyone laughed. He looked so proud of himself, soaking up the attention. I laughed too, because that's what a good wife does. But inside, something cracked. Over time, the cracks widened. He criticized my cooking, my clothes, the way I spoke to his business partners. He'd raise his voice if I questioned him, and when I stayed silent, he'd mock me for being dull. He didn't hit me. No, Damian was too careful for that. His abuse was quieter, designed to erode rather than destroy outright. He wanted submission disguised as devotion. And for years, I gave it to him. I smiled, agreed, played the role. But beneath the calm surface, I was watching, listening, learning. He had one weakness, his arrogance. Damian believed he was untouchable, the kind of man who saw himself as the smartest person in every room. That meant he talked a lot. He bragged about every deal, every account, every smart move he made to protect his money. He loved explaining things to me, thinking I didn't understand. But I did. Oh, I understood perfectly. It began the night he told me he wanted a prenup renewal. We were 5 years in, and he sat across from me with a glass of whiskey, saying it was just for formality, something to update the assets for legal protection. I read every word. What he didn't expect was that I'd hired a lawyer, quietly, discreetly, to interpret it for me. The new terms stripped me of everything. If we divorced, I'd get nothing. No house, no savings, no stake in his business. I signed it anyway. He smiled, thinking he'd won. That's when I decided I'd start planning my own exit. For the next 4 years, I became the perfect wife. I cooked his favorite meals, laughed at his jokes, entertained his colleagues, and kept our home spotless. But behind the curtain, I was dismantling his empire, one quiet step at a time. He had always been careless with details, assuming I couldn't understand them. So when he left receipts or statements lying around, I collected them. I learned which accounts were active, which properties were under his name, and how he moved money to avoid taxes. Then, slowly, I began moving money of my own. Small transfers at first, unnoticeable ones. Grocery refunds, partial returns, expense reimbursements, anything I could reroute. I opened a private account under my maiden name, something he never thought to check because, in his mind, Lila Thompson no longer existed. From there, I started liquidating. Damian loved collecting things, cars, watches, even antique furniture. I began selling select items from our joint assets under the pretense of donating or redecorating. A Rolex here, a painting there. I'd replace them with cheaper replicas or rearrange rooms so he wouldn't notice what was missing. The money went straight into my hidden account. I knew timing would be everything. He was growing restless, spending more time at the office, staying late, locking his phone. I didn't have to look hard to know there was someone else. I saw the text once, reflected faintly on his smartwatch. "Can't wait to see you tonight." I smiled. It made everything easier. One night, I cooked his favorite dinner, seared steak and red wine risotto, and asked him if everything was okay. He sighed dramatically, like I was the problem. "Leela, you're too sensitive. I just need space. Maybe some time apart would help." I nodded, feigning concern. "Whatever you need, Damian. I just want you to be happy." He looked at me suspiciously, then softened. "You're a good wife," he said, kissing my forehead. I almost laughed. The next day, I met with my lawyer. Together, we prepared a legal separation draft, one that mirrored his own earlier document, only this time with certain updates. The clauses ensured that in the event of a divorce, my financial liability was zero, while all joint assets were to be split by equity valuation, which, conveniently, I had already drained. For 6 months, I continued playing my role. Damian thought I was desperate to win him back, so he gave me just enough crumbs of affection to keep me quiet. But while he was at dinners and business meetings, I was finalizing the paperwork. I sold the vacation home under both our names, legally permissible since I had co-ownership, and funneled every cent into my private trust. I withdrew cash in small amounts, converted some to gold, and even invested part of it through an overseas account under an alias. By the time he handed me divorce papers, I was ready. It was a Tuesday morning. He walked into the kitchen in his tailored suit, smirking. "I think it's time we make it official," he said, sliding the documents across the counter. "You'll be taken care of course," he added, feigning generosity. "You can keep your car, maybe some jewelry. I'm not heartless." I took a sip of my coffee, pretending to read. "Of course, Damian, I understand." He seemed almost disappointed that I wasn't crying. "You can sign today. My lawyer will file it immediately." "Sure," I said softly. "But before that, I think you should look at something." I handed him a folder. Inside were the latest bank statements, the joint accounts, the property sales, and the investment withdrawals. His eyes darted across the pages, confusion morphing into horror. "What the hell is this?" he demanded. "It's everything you wanted," I said calmly. "Freedom." He flipped through the papers, his face draining of color. "Where's the money, Leela?" "Gone," I said simply. "Transferred, liquidated, relocated. All perfectly legal, I might add." "You can't—" "Actually, I can," I interrupted. "You made me joint owner, remember? Every transfer I made was approved by both our signatures. Yours digitally, because you were too lazy to check what you were signing." He blinked, realizing it was true. His mouth opened, but no words came out. I stood, walking around the counter. "You wanted out, Damian, so I gave you exactly what you asked for. A clean slate. No strings, no obligations, no assets. You can start over, just like you said you wanted." He slammed the folder down. "You think you can just steal from me?" "I didn't steal," I said evenly. "I took back what I earned. 10 years of unpaid work, emotional labor, and humiliation. Consider this my compensation." He was shaking with anger now. "I'll take you to court." I smiled. "Please do. But you'll have to explain to the judge why your own signatures authorized everything. And, of course, how your offshore accounts, yes, I know about those, might complicate your credibility." His jaw tightened. He didn't know what to say. I picked up the pen and signed the divorce papers, sliding them back across the counter. "Congratulations," I said. "You're free." Then I walked out. I moved into a small townhouse across town, one I'd quietly purchased under my maiden name months earlier. It wasn't luxurious, but it was mine. For the first time in years, I felt peace. No more walking on eggshells, no more pretending. Just silence and control, the kind Damian could never take from me. He tried to reach me a few times, emails, calls, even showing up once outside my new home. But by then, I'd filed a restraining order. Eventually, he stopped. Last I heard, his company went under. Poor financial management, they said. I smiled when I read that, because I knew what that really meant. The perfect wife had finally retired her act. People still ask me if I regret it, if I ever loved him. The answer is complicated. I loved the idea of him once, but the man himself, the one who mistook cruelty for strength and submission for loyalty, no. I only regret that it took me so long to realize that sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about reclaiming everything they thought you'd never have the courage to take back.
You've just stepped into her revenge side, where every wound finds its justice, and every silence ends with truth. If her story struck a chord, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive. Another secret waits in the next video. See how her revenge begins.